With new comics, events, and story arcs coming at you faster than ever, it can be hard to keep up with all the new threats and villains introduced, especially when some of them have seemingly popped up out of nowhere or are back after a long period of being buried deep in comic book history. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Today we are going to be taking a look at some of the villains who have popped up in comics recently and have left us quizzically double-taking or turning to Google for answers as to where and when we last saw them, if ever. Join me as we count down the top 10 supervillains you've never heard of, 2021 edition. Let's venture into obscurity together, get up to date on some of these newer or newly reoccurring foes, and get counting. Number 10. Red X. Red X will likely be one of the most potentially recognized on this list, which is why he takes our bottom spot. Well, they've never appeared in the comics until recently, which might have left some confused following Red X's appearance in Future State. He is a fan favorite character from the Teen Titans animated series. Red X only made 2 appearances in that series though, one where his identity was actually Robin and another time as a mystery character after the suit Robin wore as Red X was stolen. Oh no, who stole it? The best part, we still don't know the mystery behind who Red X really is. Even when Red X appeared in the Teen Titans Future State series and unmasked, it was still a mystery, as we couldn't quite make out their face, which was drawn to appear shrouded in shadow. Teen Titans Academy will likely be where you'll need to go to find out the truth behind Red X's identity and the extent of the role they'll play in the Academy's potential destruction, as we saw happen in the reality of Future State. Number 9. Raquel. Raquel. I don't know how to say this name because it's Skrull. And I don't speak Skrull, but I try my best. Raquel. I swear, so many comic book readers had a collective wait, who moment when Raquel first resurfaced in last year's Empire event. For those who missed it, Empire in short was about the Skrull and Kree ending their years-long war and finally coming together to create the Alliance, ushering in an era of peace between them and across the galaxy, but only after they returned to Earth to defeat their collective enemy. No, not mankind, that was the misdirect. The Kotati. The Kotati were also looking for revenge for being mistreated and had decided to rise up against the Skrull and Kree as well as the people of Earth. Oh no! In fact, the Kotati are another villain that I feel like people were like, wait, who? During all of this, Hulkling became the new Emperor of the Alliance, being both the child of an honored Kree soldier, Mar-Vell, and Skrull royalty being the son of Princess Anel. Another character who also revealed themselves to still be alive and manipulating all of this, while also disguised the entire time, was Raquel, the Skrull Empress. She was the ruler of the Skrull people alongside Emperor Dorek VII and is the grandmother of Emperor Dorek VIII, aka Hulkling. So if you get to the part in Empire with that reveal, yeah, that's who that is. Well, not a new villain of course, she was thought long dead since the 80s when she seemed to have perished in Fantastic Four issue 257. But it turned out she didn't. Ha ha ha! So sneaky. Number 8. 4 Horsemen. Usually when you hear 4 Horsemen, you are inclined to think of Apocalypse, the X-Men villain, and his disciples. And yet DC also featured their own new and improved 4 Horsemen in Future State. While Darkseid sometimes has his own 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse, these villains aren't even seemingly related to that version either. At least not initially anyways. However, like every other group of 4 Horsemen ever, they do follow that status quo of having a member who each represents the aspect of either war, pestilence, death, or famine. This time around, the 4 Horsemen are a collection of DC characters, not all of which are recognizable. Famine is a possessed Wally West, turned villain again, of course. Pestilence is the possessed Roundhouse, and War is a possessed Megabat, aka Lucas Laporte. Number 7. 4 Horsemen. The other 4 Horsemen. It's different. And of course, Marvel also had their newest 4 Horsemen introduced in the past year as part of the X-Men event 10 of Swords. We met their horsemen on the battlefield who came from Morocco and participated in the Otherworld tournament. These 4 are Apocalypse's children, hence probably why he's always referred to his 4 horsemen who came after in such a way, because they were actually filling a hole left by his original 4 horsemen who were his actual children. These Morocco mutants were literally named after each aspect belonging to the Horsemen collective: war, famine, pestilence, and death. While they each had striking character designs which will probably help them stand the test of time, or at least stand a chance in terms of comic book history, they also made many readers ask, New event, who dis? We were all like, who are these people? I was like, have I seen these people before? Am I supposed to know? They knew? Where did they come from? They're new. It's all good. Number 6. Miriam Drew. And her clones! Miriam Drew has recently revealed herself as both an ally and villain to Jessica Drew in the newest Spider-Woman series. Truly, this newest run is a series of revelation after revelation for Jess. Miriam Drew is Jessica Drew's mother, who we initially thought died but turns up elderly and yet alive years later. She reveals the story of what really happened to her in issue 5 of the series, and then proceeds to lose her mind as time progresses throughout that issue. Eventually, she ends up accusing Jessica of being a monster and blaming her for everything that has come to pass. The two come to blows and it gets really messy. But that isn't the last we'd see of this crazed version of Miriam, and in fact during her next appearance there would be much more at stake and many more revelations that would not just affect Jessica, but also all of those people around her. No spoilers, but just seriously, you need to read this series. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are enjoying this list and you want to see more like it, let us know by giving this video a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. You should subscribe. Just do it. Come on, do it. Number 5. Peacekeeper 01. Or Peacekeeper 1. Peacekeeper 1 is a villain who appears in a few different places in Future State, including Batman, Superman, Dark Detective, Nightwing, and of course, the next Batman. This villain keeps their face masked and therefore was shrouded in mystery for most of our glimpse into this possible future state. However, in the end, we did get a reveal with him taking off his mask, but he didn't appear to be anyone fans collectively recognized. We were like, who's that supposed to be? Instead, it seems to have been a reveal that will allow us to recognize the character later on in the comics when we meet him again in the present before he has become Peacekeeper 1. Ideally. Otherwise, what was really the point of that unmasked panel, right? Number 4. The Pale Girl. The Pale Girl is a more mysterious villain who only showed up in the first few issues of the newest Wolverine run from 2020. She was part of the first story arc from issue 1 to issue 3. Initially, I thought the Pale Girl might just be some kind of hologram or hallucination, but we would later learn that she was an entity all her own, completely separate from the hallucinogenic drug made out of the smuggled Krakoan flowers. Later on, it's revealed that the Pale Girl is in fact some kind of mutant and is working in league with the government-led team of Russian mutants, which means we might see her when we get our own Krakoan assembled Russian mutant team, who will likely be called together to deal with the threat of the opposing national team of mutants and their own agenda. Number 3. Kuat. Kuat the Sun God is not really classified as a supervillain, but he's definitely villain adjacent. He's definitely a troublemaker, more a mischievous character who becomes a later ally of Yara Flor's Wonder Woman in Future State. But he does become an antagonist to Superman in the second issue of Superman Wonder Woman, the Future State comics. So I'ma count him for this list. There, the two heroes work to defeat Solaris, and Kuat just ends up kinda getting in the way, which ultimately leads to Superman punching him in the face. Kuat himself is a sun god recognized by one of the tribes of the Amazonian rainforest. He and his twin brother, Ayea, benefit from Yara Flor's position as Wonder Woman, as since her rise to prominence, more people have come to worship and believe in them again. Number 2. Octavia Versis. Octavia Versis is a villain who shows up in the latest Spider-Woman series. If you don't recognize her initially, it's just because she has only been introduced to us there and only made her very first appearance last summer in issue 2 of the newest Spider-Woman series from 2020. By the way, have I mentioned how much you should read this series? Because you should totally check out this series. It's brilliant and it features Spider-Woman fighting all kinds of crazy enemies, including dinosaurs. Yep, dinosaurs. You are gonna see her fight some dinosaurs and it's awesome. Octavia's father was Hydra Commander Otto Vermis, whom Jessica killed, but Octavia's not really after Jess for revenge. She's more interested in the research that led to Jessica being empowered with her spider-like abilities. As such, the two have fought over spider specimens and beat each other half to death over other such valuable research, but their mutual interests in research has also occasionally put them on a path to team up with one another. Number 1. Horticulture. Unless you've read the select few issues that they have appeared in, it's likely that you don't know this supervillain group yet. But this is one you really should know, as they are definitely worth reading. Definitely one of my favorites of new villains. Horticulture popped up during the Empire event last summer in the short Empire X-Men tie-in series. They made their first appearance, however, in issue 3 of the latest run of X-Men, which started in late 2019. Horticulture is a team of villains made up of elderly agrochemists who plan to take control of all plant life on the planet so that they can reduce the Earth's population of humans to protect the Earth and give them power over who they believe deserves to live or die as the Earth reverts back to a more natural state. So far we have met 4 women who belong to this group: Augusta Bromes, Edith Skutch, Opal Vedivere, and Lily Lamus. What are some of your favorite new supervillains? Which supervillains do you hope catch on and stick around? Which do you think are the most ridiculous of those we've seen introduced recently? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.